Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome in. You have now entered the RDU live radio show right here on Oak 93.5 WRLY. And I am your host, Cameron McCarty. I appreciate you for tuning in. If you're listening on the FM dial, go ahead, reach over, turn us up. Make sure you're buckling up out there. If you're on 40, 540 Glenwood, wherever you might be, it's rush hour traffic. Just want to make sure you're staying safe. And if you're watching on one of the streams, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you might be, go ahead, put something in the comments. Let us know you're watching. Somebody will get back to you. And look, wherever you might be watching, this is a call-in show. It's an interactive show. That means when we're not playing music, the phone lines are wide open. That phone number is 919-899-9305. That's 919-899-9305. Look, we got a jam-packed show for you today. We actually got somebody in the studio with us. We got a musician, an artist, a producer. We got Mr. Collin Williams. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Cam. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
I appreciate you. We've had this on the calendar for quite some time now, and the day has finally come, and I'm glad to have this conversation with you today, man.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So before we dive into everything you got going on, we actually got a track to run from you that I'm actually excited for the people to hear. So before we get into all of that, if you've been listening to the show, if you've been watching, wherever you might be, you always know that we try to start the show off with something that's real, that's relevant to someone here in the Triangle or to the world at large. And a couple things today that I just want to hit on is in North Carolina today. It's March 5th, 2024, and the primary elections are going on. So right now it's about 6:04. If you're driving out there, if you're almost home, hey, go ahead and stop by the precinct. As long as you're in line before 7:30 p.m., you can still cast that vote. Try to make an informed decision, but put something in there. Hey, I'm not trying to tell you what to do or how to vote or to vote, just making sure that you're informed, all right? And something else really quick off the top, has nothing to do necessarily with music, but just something I wanted the people to know about, if you didn't know, is in the area, I go to a lot of places around town. And when it comes to bars and breweries, always listening to live music and that kind of thing. And we went out, and my girlfriend was telling me about something kind of randomly. She was like, "Hey, do y'all have this in the male's bathroom?" I said, "I don't know." But in the female's bathroom specifically, sometimes they have on the wall these flyers or Post-its, and it's for certain drinks. I won't say what they are, but for certain drinks that you can order to let a staff member or a bartender know that you might be in trouble. Somebody might be following you. You might need a little help to your car, something of that nature. And you can say that drink and somebody will assist you. One, I appreciate those places that have those things in place and trying to keep those things in mind, right? And then, so, hey, if you're a business owner out there and that's something that you might want to adopt, go for it. Go for it. I think over in Durham, there's a couple places like Highwire and Lone Rider breweries that have those. So there might be a whole thing that I'm just not privy to, right? But taking that conversation another step forward, there's this organization that I learned about when I was a kid that I didn't know people didn't know about. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. It's the National Safe Place organization, the National Safe Place organization. And you may have seen it, you may not have seen it, but it's a yellow diamond. It's from a symbol perspective. It's a yellow diamond, and it actually says safe place, and it has like a home thing on it. And what it is it's a collection of places that have trained staff to handle crisis, especially for youth. I think they're actually based out of Kentucky, but it's nationwide. They have an organization that's nationwide. And it's simply put, is once again, you're in any kind of danger and trouble, you just need somebody to talk to help you out, whatever that moment might be. You can find a place that has that symbol, and you can trust that someone in that establishment can help me. Some of those places include fire stations, boys and girls clubs, bus stations, buses themselves with the bus drivers. A lot of times if you're in crisis and you can go get on the bus for free, say, hey, I need help. And they'll just let you on the bus and ride until they can figure out how to help you. And there's other private institutions, private businesses. I know I'm from Mississippi, and a lot of the Wendy's would have the signs on there. Some of the Waffle Houses would have the signs on there. Shout out to the Waffle House workers. I love you guys. But yeah. So just want to put that out there. Just once again, not telling you what to do, how to do it, but just be informed. And tell your kids, hey, we always want to protect our children. We always want to protect our youth and protect ourselves, but you never know what might happen in life. And so you want to always take those precautions and have that kind of thing ready for yourself. So always something to think about, always something to look forward to, right? Cool. Now that we're keeping ourselves safe, we're buckled up in the car, we know how to find safety. Now we can actually really listen and talk about some entertainment in the Triangle. So we got a musician of musicians here with us. We got Mr. Collin Williams, man. Once again, I appreciate you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Let's get to it.
So I've seen you kind of in passing some places on social media. Of course, that's how everybody meets everybody these days, right? But I actually saw you playing over at CJ Baker's a jam session one night. You were playing a sax. I think your name on social media is Sax Talk, right?
Yes, it is.
Is that your principal instrument?
Yes, it is. Saxophone is my main instrument. I've been playing it for more than 20 years, and I love it, man.
So you say more than 20 years. How did you get there? How did you get into saxophone?
Well, it's a funny story, actually. I was in the 5th grade, and we had to go and figure out what instruments we were going to play. And I come from a family of musicians, so I just thought it was just normal. Like, I'm going to be in the band. I don't know what I'm going to play yet. So I saw all the instruments. I saw the trumpet. I saw the flute. I saw, everything up there. I saw drums. And drums were really popular because of drumline and everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I went home that night, and I hadn't picked anything yet. And my older brother was like, why don't you just play the instrument that's shaped kind of like a J? Because I don't think he knew
what it was. Yeah.
But he knew he liked the sound of it. And so I always attribute my starting out to my older brother. And that's how I picked it. I was just like, let me go pick that one that looks like the J.
Yeah. And you stuck with it.
And I stuck with it.
Did you try any other along the 20-year journy? Have you tried any other? Did you play any other along that journey?
I don't think I really tried any other instruments.
Wow.
To be honest, once I'm onto something, I'm the type of person that I just lock into it. Like, that's just what I do. Once I start, I don't see myself like, oh, let me go try this, let me go try that. Even though I did that in later years, as I got older, but when it was the beginning and kind of all through middle school, high school, I just was like, I'm a sax player. That's what I felt. And so I never really tried anything else.
So how does it go? So after high school, do you keep the sax and then you come back to it, or do you go to college, or how does this work?
I think I really started like kind of expanding my musicianship once I got to college.
Okay.
I mean, I had always played in church, and I was always, in high school, you're the best of the people in high school. But when you get to college, now you're back to square one. There's everybody there is, the best from their high school. So once I got to college, I really started really learning about music and really actually putting in real time on my instrument, not just going off natural talent. I don't know. It just kind of opened me up a little bit more. I got to meet a whole lot more really killing musicians who take their craft very serious on a whole nother level that I wasn't aware of even. So when I got to college, my eyes were open to really taking musicianship seriously and really being serious about what it is that we do.
Yeah. So from a musician standpoint, whether I might ask this question about what you like and or what you're good at. Is it more jazz or R&B from the saxophone perspective?
I feel like I go back and forth, but I feel like I connect more with R&B music, gospel, that's what I was raised on.
Who's your inspirations?
Who's my inspirations? It depends on the day.
Ah.
It depends on the day. I would say back in high school, I used to really like Music Soul Child. I was really into that. D'Angelo.
Yeah, okay. I got your vibe.
You know, the R&B greats, the classics.
The Anthony Hamiltons of the world. Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony Hamilton. But when I got to college, I mean, back when I was in high school, I didn't even like bebop and, you know, traditional jazz. But when I got to college, I met musicians who were able to, or the program in general over at Central, I was able to see the importance of it and really find songs that I liked that would kind of introduce me into that genre in a way that I actually like it, rather than just listening and be like, oh, this is boring. This is old people.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that happened. It's funny. It's weird. Experiences just change you. You get older and you just learn different things from different people, and you learn to like things. You learn to enjoy and see the beauty in different art forms. So when it comes to playing, when it comes to making music, do you make more R&B? You find yourself, is that your lane, or is it more of a gospel, or is it kind of a blend of the two? I would say I would classify, if I had to, I would classify it probably as more of R&B. But I can do all the genres and styles. As far as the saxophone is concerned. Yeah, right, the saxophone can fit in a lot of different genres. Exactly. I can play traditional jazz. I can play, you know, straight ahead jazz. I can play R&B, gospel, you know, all that. So, yeah, I would say I'm leaning more towards the R&B side, though, kind of the smooth jazz side. Yeah, I'm thinking about this. One of the reasons I'm kind of asking you that question is because I previewed this track. Hey, I'm teasing the people because this track I actually vibe with it. And I was listening to it. I'm jamming out to it. And my girlfriend here, she went, "Is it gospel? Is it not?" Yeah. Like, I don't know, but that's what I like about it. There's this term that's actually going around. That I think there's kind of a shift that's trying to happen within the jazz world, especially the R&B smooth jazz world. And there's this term going around called trap jazz. And so, I don't know, that's kind of like my take on things and my perspective on that. You can hear it in the song, but yeah. Matter of fact, I think we're going to play this track. Because I really want people to get the vibe of who Sax Talk is, who Collin Williams is. And we're going to further this conversation in just a second. So we're about to play a track from Collin Williams. It's called Bass. It came out in 2022, right? Came out in 2022. This is Bass by Collin Williams.
This is where I live, but I can't stay. Only place for me is outer space. Living on this earth without your grace. Like listening to a track without the bass. This is where I live, but I can't stay. Only place for me is outer space. Living on this earth without your grace. Like listening to a track without the bass. Listening to a track without the bass. Without the bass. Jealousy, temptation in my face. Come to find out that's not the case. Cause the only place for me is outer space. I pray to God up above that'll rain down his love. Rain on us. This is where I live, but I can't stay. Only place for me is outer space. Living on this earth without your grace. Like listening to a track without the bass. without the bass, y'all. 'Cause I don't wanna do it like they do. If I believe, then why do I need proof? They say have faith then believe, and that's the truth. But it's easier to say than to do. Do like they do. If I believe, then why do I need proof? They say have faith then believe, and that's the truth. But it's easier to say than to do. Yeah, said this is where I live, but I can't stay. Only place for me is outer space. Living on this earth without your grace, like listening to a track without the bass. Bass without the bass. 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 Without the bass. Yeah, this is where I live, but I can't say. Only place for me is outer space. Living on this earth without your grace, like listening to a track without the bass.
Oh yeah, that was Bass by Collin Williams.
Yes,
He's actually
sir.
sitting in the studio with us. He's actually sitting in the studio with us. So once again, hey, for all the listeners that might have just joined during that track, I know you're vibing out. I hate to end the vibe session right there, but just remember, this is a call-in show, an interactive show. So when we're not playing music, right now, those phone lines are wide open, and that phone number is 919-899-9305. That's 919-899-9305. 9305. So we just cut that track. Hey, that's Bass by Collin Williams. And so I got a little preview of that live. I actually saw you perform that one live, and you had something that looked like a saxophone, but it wasn't a saxophone, but you were singing and playing. How does that work? Because you can do that sound live. How do you do that?
Yes. Well, first of all, I am a decent singer. I have to, and that's like one of the number one things that you need to kind of be able to do it. But that instrument is actually called an EWI, an electronic wind instrument.
Okay.
And it's basically like a MIDI controller. So it can act by itself. You can blow into it, make notes, all that kind of thing. Or you can hook it up to pedals. So I chose to hook mine up to a vocoder, which I've seen several other artists do. I first actually saw it done by Marcus Anderson, and he's really great at it. But yeah, you hook it up through a vocoder and hook a mic into it, and you can basically sing it to it, and it will basically auto-tune you. But the thing is, it's not automatic like auto-tune.
Yeah, that's the interesting part. Yeah.
Exactly. So you got to be able to play.
Yeah, you got to be able to play and sing.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
got to be able to play and sing at the same time and know what it is you're trying to play. And so it's a skill that I've been working on for some years now, and I've gotten it to the level and to the point where I'm happy with how it sounds on tracks, and I'm able to do it live and consistently. And that was kind of a challenge, especially when I first started doing it. I spent a few years just really trying to figure out how it works, trying to figure out the best sound, the best vocoder to go with it. And yeah, it's been a journey, but I love that thing. I love that instrument because I feel like I am a singer. I'm always approaching music from a singer point of view. Even when I was in school and doing bebop and jazz, I've always had this approach of a singer, even through the saxophone, because that's what I connect most with. I don't connect with lots and lots of notes all the time. I connect with singing, and I think that's what people in general connect with more.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to sing. I've always wanted to be a good singer. I think I'm decent. I ain't gonna go out on stage and just be singing anything all the time, but I will go out with the vocoder and do some pretty cool stuff.
Now that's interesting because I like, listening to it and actually seeing it live a little bit. It's the concept of like, when you're singing, it's one thing, to sing a straight line, but then when you're able to go into a little bit of a run and do some different dynamics in there with your voice, but then also match it with what you're playing, it's like these two things come together, and you got to be on point because you can't be going up on your voice and down,
Exactly. A lot of people don't understand. I mean, saxophone players ask me all the time how you do it, how you get it to sound like that, and I think the main thing is they just don't know that you got to actually be singing. You got to actually be singing. You got to actually kind of have a singer approach. You can't just talk into it.
Yeah, it's not auto tuning you and like pitch correcting.
Exactly.
It's following.
It's following whatever your fingers are doing.
And
following your voice inflections.
Yeah,
and that sort of thing. So you got to be able to sing a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting. I wanted to play the track, but I also wanted to have this conversation about it. Like it's not just like this auto tune track that's being pitch corrected.
And a lot of people they mistake it for a talk box,
the talk box,
one that has you put the tube in your mouth and you blow it. But it's not that at all. You just need a microphone, and you got to really be able to use your voice.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not as robotic.
I went down a rabbit hole the other day just trying to figure out like how is this thing working? Like I seen you do it.
It's
I
magic.
hear it. Yeah, it's magic.
It's magic.
It's magic. And no, man, that's good stuff. That's great to be able to like have that range. Yeah. You know what I mean? So a question about the iwi. So it's an electronic wind instrument.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. Are the fingerings on the particular instrument, are the fingerings ambiguous, or are they specific to a saxophone, specific to a flute kind of thing?
The best setting you can put it on is the saxophone setting, and they're pretty similar. They're very similar to a real saxophone, and it plays very similarly to a saxophone. If you were to play it as an actual, you blow into it and everything.
Yeah.
So it's very similar in that respect, but you can set it to different settings. It's got a flute setting.
Yeah.
It's got a trumpet setting even. I've seen trumpet players use it too.
Wow.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. So when it comes to your musical approach in this specific way, are you a fundamentalist? Meaning, I know you're not, but I want to just have this conversation. Meaning, it has to be the analog. It has to be the analog sound. And how do you approach? I guess this is a better question. How do you approach pushing the envelope and trying new things and you said you went to school and you kind of, you were in the jazz program, but now you're using an electronic, on stage. Like, how do you create?
That's a great question. I think it all comes down to staying true to myself. Like thinking about the things that really interested me when I was first learning how to play music in general. I went to school and learned all this stuff, and school is a funny thing where you're kind of pressured to feel like you need to be able to perform at this certain level, which you do. And you need to be able to perform this standard repertoire that they give you of, different things, and be able to master certain things, certain technical abilities. And that's true and everything. And while you want to master all that stuff and be able to play a certain way at a certain level, it's real easy to lose sight of what you're doing this for in the first place. Like when I signed up to go to college, I was like, I'm gonna sign up, I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna learn how to be real good on my saxophone and make this kind of music, or make the music that I'm thinking that's in my head. And so I got to Central and I kind of lost myself for a little bit, but I think it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but I kind of lost myself just immersing myself into that jazz world and bebop world, and it just gave me a whole nother perspective.
Yeah.
So that way, when I graduated, I finally was able to breathe, breathe again. And I'm I utilized all the things that I had in school, and all the things that really inspire me, and really I enjoy, like singing, just straight up R&B, straight up gospel stuff like that. And just really put it together in my own thing. And I think that's important. That's really important because as musicians, especially in the age of social media, it's super easy to lose what you want to do.
Yeah.
You're just so busy trying to stay with what everybody else is doing and do what the next man is doing.
Stay true to self. Yeah.
Stay true to yourself. I think that's the best thing.
Yeah. And okay. Philosophical question. Philosophical musical question.
Oh Lord.
For you, is it about the music, and the music has to be right and the music needs to be on point? Or is it about the feel? It just needs to feel good. How would you approach it?
I think it depends on the track. I think overall, both are very important, but I would like to think that my music is supposed to make the person feel good. That's what we do, and I think that the quality of the music is a byproduct of that.
Yeah. And how the musician approaches it, right?
I just think everything, if you do it to the best of your ability, and you're gonna get quality if you put actual time and effort into whatever it is that you're doing as a musician or artist. It's gonna be good, and it may not be for everybody, but I think that's entirely up to the listener. But yeah, I think those are kind of byproducts of each other. Yeah.
And they kind of work hand in hand. That's a fair point. So one of the running things of this show that I always talk about is, from my perspective, I'm not a musician. I play some instruments and I can, punch some things around. But I come from the school of thought of like music should make you feel something, not necessarily good or bad. It should evoke some type of emotion or something like that. And it's always interesting to ask, actual musicians. That's real. What they feel about that concept.
That's real, because there's a lot of musicians who don't think about what it is people feel when they're watching them or listening to them. Yeah. And it's evident, Yeah. And I struggled with that for a while even. I mean, you go through it. You try to figure out, what is it people want from me?
Yeah.
And I definitely struggle with that too. And I still even think about how can I reach the people while still, being happy with what I do myself.
What you do, yeah.
And it's a consistent back and forth. I think the more that I do this and the older I get in doing this, I get better and better though.
Yeah. So
I can't wait for you guys to hear my new music.
We're gonna be talking about that in just a second. Okay, so along that conversation, and something I always like to just kind of probe musicians about is your process. You're talking about the people. What do they want? Are you in the booth or are you on stage? Where do you feel the most comfortable? In the booth, in producing, or on stage?
I love doing both. I wouldn't call myself I wouldn't go and produce for somebody else.
Okay.
So I don't think I wouldn't call myself a producer, but I do make a lot of my own stuff.
And you're a producer.
Yeah. But I make music that sounds good with me doing it. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense, but I actually been reaching out to other producers for the latest stuff I've been working on. But I would say I really enjoy both. I like being on stage. I love tracking. I love playing the horn. I'm in my house. I'm laying tracks, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I like going out and performing them too. But I would say both equally. I know I'm giving you equal answers on both.
No, I think what's the phrase? Two things can be true at the same time.
Two things can be true.
And I think that's why I asked the question.
I like seeing those creations come to life on stage.
Yeah.
Like what you do at home, and then seeing your band in rehearsal, learning your music, and seeing them how they are interpreting it, and seeing what you might need to change. You get that kind of feedback first from the band, and it's fun to watch. It's a fun process. Yeah. And then all the way to a performance stage. It's just great.
You go right into, my next point. we're talking about, being in the booth versus being on stage, and you just kind of said, you produce music for yourself that you sound good on. But how important is it to work with other musicians and be a part of the band and kind of navigate through those waters?
Yeah, I would say that's become a really important thing, especially for me at this point in my career, is starting to really branch out and really not being scared to ask for help from other people and get other people's feedback, be it producers, other musicians. And so I've been really, in this last year, making it a point to use my friends, really, really collab with people and make music with people who I enjoy listening to. There's so many artists, local artists here in the area that I just love their music and hope to work with them, so it's really important.
Yeah. I bring that up a lot on this show just because, this is what this whole thing is about. It's kind of, building or attaching to the community at large, that's doing this and especially when it comes to full-time musicians or musicians just in general that are really putting time into the craft is one, promoting what they do, but then also connecting the dots and doing it. So we talk about CJ on the show all the time. He's one of the reasons that I, know who you are. And it's that concept of one person helping another, but also making that community, but then also making the music.
Yeah.
Right. Making the music and putting out great tracks and then, coming to a guy like myself to actually get it on the radio, right? It's kind of how the ecosystem works.
It all works together.
It all works together. So you were kind of talking about some stuff that you might have coming up. Mm-hmm. Talk about that just a little bit. What's the vibe? Where are you at these days? Kind of how you vibing?
I am vibing. No, but I've been working on some music. It's been a while since I've released anything. But I've been working on some music, and I plan on releasing a few singles towards, probably in the summer or towards the end of the year. But I am super excited because I've been, just a hermit in my house, just tracking and just, talking to other musicians, really trying to get my stuff together. And honestly, I'm thinking about kind of a new sound. I'm probably going to be leaning a little bit more smooth jazz, but still trying to keep that my thing in there. But I'm just excited, man. I'm excited because I feel like I'm at a new place, a new level. I have a new level of musicianship, and I'm ready to show that in the music. So
I'm going to ask you a question there. What does a new level of musicianship mean?
For me, it means that it's almost like getting a breath of fresh air. Like you kind of get stuck. Sometimes you can plateau. Like you do something, it's really great. People really love it. It's awesome. But you can kind of get stuck in the day-to-day grind. You don't really have time to really lean into your artistry. And so I kind of use those times as times to just, reclude into myself and just practice more. Shed my instrument, really, really dive into the music more. And it's not necessarily like I'm being quiet. I still play gigs. I still go out. I still try to remain a part of the music community. But I don't know. I just kind of reclude into myself and just get to work. And then I feel a lot more comfortable. Like I can do more things.
Yeah. You going to the lab. You in the gym.
I've been shooting in the gym. You know how it is.
Yeah. I dig that. So I guess my next question, like inspiration, like when you go into those moments of plateau and you have to go back into the gym and, not necessarily because you're doing bad, you just want to go to another level. What do you lean on from inspiration, whether it be music or personal or just life, when you go into those times?
It's, it could be a plethora of different things. It could be just the sincere urge to want to do more and want to do better. It could be other musicians. I've been trying to network and just, hang out with different people recently. And so it's a plethora of different things. Like I'm also a teacher during the day. So I get inspiration from the kids. The kids have this really fresh take on life, and it's really refreshing for me because it kind of brings me back to that moment of when like I was saying before, just enjoying what it is you're doing right now. And just kind of leaning into that. and seeing what's fun, what's not fun, what is fun, what is like, how can I enjoy what I'm doing? Really trying to figure out how to enjoy what I'm doing and finding that peace.
Interesting. So I'm finding out about you right now. So you're a teacher.
Yeah.
You're a teacher. Okay. What grade levels or just kind of all around? Or
I teach K through 8, and then I also teach privately.
Wow.
Yeah, privately.
So if you need any sax lessons.
Yeah, if you need sax lessons, I got the website.
There we go.
Lessonswithcollin.com, 2 L's.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. We finding out. We're finding out, hey, if you need somebody to play at your wedding, you need a track to play, you need a live musician to play, you need some music lessons for yourself or for your kids. You got Collin Williams sitting in the studio right now. Hey, give us a call and talk to him if you want to. That phone number is 919-899-9305. But yeah, so you're a teacher, and so what's your teaching approach? Not necessarily from like you don't have to go into the detail, but just from a top level.
Yeah.
How do you approach teaching?
I try to give students freedom to think for themselves. Like, I'm an art teacher too. Like, I teach band and I teach art as well, because I'm an artist as well, visual artist. But kids ask me all the time, they're like, Mr. Williams, how does this look?
Yeah.
And I don't never tell them what I actually think. I always say, what do you think about it? Because it makes them less of a people pleaser, and it just makes them look more inwardly to why it is they're doing what they're doing, why they're doing the art in the first place, what they like about their art.
Yeah.
Because it's not about my opinion.
Yeah.
So they ask me all the time, hey, Mr. Williams, what does this look good? No.
Yeah.
You tell me what it is and what it's about, and does it look good?
Yeah.
But on the band side of things, the music side of things, I try to, same thing, give the kids the freedom. How did that sound? You tell me how that sounded.
Yeah.
Did you listen to the music before you got to class? I try to give them that real world experience too. So I don't know. I just try to bring a different air of freshness to their world too, because they can get locked into rules and, being in line all day and, this and that. Just being in school is kind of like, super locked in. So I try to, when they come in my classroom, I want them to have a bit of freedom. They still got to follow the rules. Right. They got to behave and all that stuff. But I try to bring real world experience and, let them be free to think.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. I had an art teacher, multiple art teachers in my life, and a lot of them shaped who I am, and just kind of how I think, or not. Yeah, I guess how I think. They didn't tell me what to think. As I said earlier in the show, that's not even how I operate. I'll never tell you what to think. I just make sure you're informed, right? And it's that concept of, giving people space. Yeah,
and it's so crazy because, especially as a black man, I think a lot of us don't even envision ourselves being in a role like that. Like, I'm in here with a group of kids, and it's for some people, it's not for others.
Right.
I used to think that it wasn't for me until I started doing it. And just seeing that the freshness, that the fresh perspective that the kids would give me, and just seeing the role that I played in their life.
Wow.
Because I've seen a lot of kids grow up. I've taught a few kids from middle school all the way up through high school.
Wow.
And, I've seen their musicianship just grow tremendously. Yeah. And it's just crazy because I look and I'm like, you learned all that from me.
Yeah. Wow.
It's kind of crazy.
It's got to be a beautiful thing to kind of see the maturation of that.
It's a very beautiful thing.
Wow. Wow, man. We're learning a lot today. So you said something I want to kind of double back on. And so you're a visual artist and a musician and a soundscape artist, right? So how do they blend? If they do, or if they don't, how do they blend? And how do you manage those two parts of the brain and making both of them fluid?
I think as of right now, they don't really blend. It's art for me right now. While I do art and sell art, it's not really a career path as much as the music is for me. Like, I work in music, that's my thing. But I think art, I went to an art school. I went to Northwest School of the Arts in Charlotte. And even there, I double majored. I was a visual artist and I was in the band there.
Wow.
So when I got to college, I kind of put art to the side. I never really did it. And then I just started painting. Like, my wife got me a paint set after we graduated. She was like, she'd seen some of my art before. She was like,
Yeah.
he can probably paint. And I had never really painted before,
Yeah.
but because I've always been a drawer. Like I
Yeah.
can really draw really well. So she sees my drawings. She's like, oh, he must be able to paint. So she just gets me a paint set. And it was downhill from there. I just started painting all the time. I was like, oh, I can really do this. Like I can really get into it. And it became a really good breakaway from music.
From the music, yeah.
Because doing that, going to gigs, playing gigs, it's a job.
Yeah,
It's a job. But doing art is kind of like a way for me to just kind of let go and just have fun, know. And if I can sell some art while I'm doing it, why not?
Wow.
So that's where that is pretty much.
Wow. So you got music and you got art, and they live kind of separately, but kind of in duality and parallel for you. Wow. Yeah. So I'm learning. We're all learning together. We're all learning together, man. That's great. And I'm always interested in, like, an engineer, right? I'm an engineer by trade, a broadcast engineer by trade, but I like to talk.
Yeah.
Right. And I have a radio show, right? It's like these multiple facets that we all have. So, a lot of times I get into this habit of thinking of a musician as a saxophonist, and he can play multiple instruments or he can produce music, but there's more to the human. I didn't know you were a teacher.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of people can get locked into that and even put limits on yourself by thinking that way. It's like, you don't just do one thing. You're not just one thing.
Yeah.
Everybody in here has multiple gifts and talents and even interests.
And interests,
Yeah. Like, don't be afraid of them. Like, lean into them.
Lean into them. So, you said you're a teacher, right? And you teach, different age ranges. For a younger musician, and I guess you do this every day, for a younger musician, what's some advice, a piece of advice that you would give them, or a younger artist? What's some advice that you would give them as they're trying to go along their journey and figure things out?
I would say continue to have fun. That's really important. Is make sure that what you're doing, you're enjoying it, right? Because I feel like there will be times where you'll feel like, oh, maybe this isn't for me because it's just too serious. And I've had those moments, and it does get serious. If you want to get to a certain level, or if you want to be at a certain place, you got to have certain things in place.
Right.
But don't lose sight of why you're doing this. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be fun.
It's supposed to be fun.
It's supposed to be fun. And if you're not enjoying it, then maybe it should be a hobby.
Wow. Wow. That's actually a pretty strong, that's a good statement right there.
Yeah. Maybe it should be a hobby. Because you got to enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people feed off that. They can see that. They can see if you're not really. And there's been plenty of artists who are not happy doing what they're doing, but very successful.
Yeah.
So it's also that fine line between finding happiness and actually being successful. You got to kind of define what success is to you for yourself. So I've gone through that. I still go through that. But I would say for the younger kids, just stay with it. And I don't know if that's something I never had to tell myself, but I feel like a lot of younger kids can hear that. Just keep doing it. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Because a lot of kids, kids are real fickle. They can give up on things really easily. So I try not to push kids too hard, but if I could tell them one thing, it would just be, just keep going. Just keep going, keep doing what you're doing, and keep having fun.
Keep doing what you're doing and keep having fun. I'm gonna make a call back to somebody that you know about, Aaron McCoy. He was on the show, and one of the pieces of advice he said is consistency and persistence.
Exactly.
Be consistent and stay persistent.
That's real.
Yeah,
consistency is
that's
real.
Huge. That's so huge. Consistency it'll keep you afloat when you get a little tired, if you can just stay consistent.
I tell my young students, because it's so crazy. I'll have there will be one star student in the band, and then there'll be another student who wants to be the star.
Yeah.
And then the star student doesn't really practice. And then the one who's not a star, he practices all the time. And all of a sudden, there he is on
Yeah.
top. And then the star student is stuck trying to figure out what's going on. How come I'm not playing, the first part, or how come I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that? Well, I see consistency is always going to beat out someone who is not consistent.
They say in multiple lines of business, if you haven't noticed, I like these little platitude type things. But what is it? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Every day, every time. Every time.
So, hey, stay consistent. So we're coming to the bottom of our hour here, and I like to reserve this time just so for you to tell people, hey, what you got coming up, where you're going to be at, and how they can find you. I want you to spell it out for them. Where can they find the lessons that we just found out about? Where can they find that out? Where can they find you on social media and your music and stuff?
Okay. Well, I'm working on a few dates for Sax Talk Live. That's what I call my live show. I'm working on a few dates for Sax Talk Live that will come out soon. But in the meantime, you guys can follow me on IG at Sax Talk, Sax_talk. Or you can find me on Facebook at Collin Williams, 2 L's in both names. What else? I think that's it.
Where can they find the lessons at again?
My lessons website is actually lessonswithcollin.com.
Lessons with Collins, but you said 2 L's, right?
2 L's in Collin.
2 L's in Collins. So that's Lessons with Collins, and his full name is Collin Williams. You type that in somewhere, you'll find it, and it's Sax_talk. Hey, that's SAX. We're talking about the saxophone, people. We're talking about the saxophone.
Because when you type that in, there might be some other things to pop up.
We're talking about the saxophone, all right? That's SAX_TALK. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
I get that right. Hey, we got a couple more minutes. The phone lines are still open if you're trying to get in. I know you're chomping at the bit to talk to a celebrity here. The phone lines are still open for a couple more minutes. That phone number is 919-899-9305. That's 919-899-9305. Look, Collin, man, I appreciate you for being here today. I want to get that out, before we get too far and too deep into this thing. I really appreciate you for taking the time out.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me up here on your platform, man. This is great. I have had so much fun having this conversation with you today.
Yeah,
this
is what it's about. And I'm actually about to talk about some things here. I wanted to, before we get too far, we're just kind of doing some housekeeping things. We got a musician in here with us. And, CJ, he comes up on this show a lot. He probably said his name about 4 times in this particular show. But he's doing a lot of work in our music community, in the Triangle in general. And he has a open mic night that usually is on Tuesdays, but it's been kind of on the side right now just because of the venue. They had some things going on, so he's had to put that to the side. But he's starting up something else in conjunction with Proximity Brewing in Durham, North Carolina. Proximity Brewing happens to be the first Black-owned brewery in Durham, North Carolina. And they're over on Driver Street. And they're starting up something here in the spring every Thursday starting, I want to say this Thursday in the month of March. So this coming up Thursday, every Thursday is going to be Jazz on Driver. So Driver Street, right? Jazz on Driver Street. And they're going to have a different jazz artist coming in and giving the tunes and playing. And I want to say the first week is going to be Aaron McCoy, hence why the callback today. Everything comes full circle, man. We try to make it happen. We try to make it happen here on the RDU Live show. But yeah, so on Thursday evenings, if you're looking for something to do, you got a babysitter for the kids and you want to get out and have a nice date, bring a friend, listen to some good music, go over to Proximity Brewing on Driver Street in Durham, North Carolina. And it happens to be right next door to Mike D's barbecue joint. Mike D's barbecue spot, really good barbecue. Really good people over there. I'm not necessarily affiliated. I'm just telling you, once again, not telling you what to do, where to go, just keeping you informed. But yeah, so CJ is going to be over there kind of promoting that and producing that. It's going to be different artists coming through. Always a good time doing that. Any last words you want to give the people, Collin Williams, Sax Talk?
Not much, man. I love y'all. Probably we'll see y'all out there on Thursday nights every now and again. And maybe I'll have my own night there.
Hey, shout out. There we go.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it, though. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. Look, this show is for artists in general, but it's for everybody in the community, to be honest with you. So next week, we got a whole month of March kind of listed out for the RDU Live show. Next week, we're going to actually have Chris Creech. Come on, Chris Creech happens to be the owner of another brewery over in Durham. He's the owner of the Glass Jug Beer Lab. If you're in the Triangle, you've probably heard about that, Glass Jug Beer Lab. He's going to be on. He's a local business owner. They have 2 locations in Durham. They're always putting on live events and having musicians. So we got a business owner coming on. Then the week after that, Camus Leonardo, he's going to be back on as a host, back on for the Tapped In edition of the show. And he's going to have Brittany Scott on. She is a business owner herself. So we got 2 business owners. And then the last week of the month, we're going to have Quanice Fisher from QMF Agency. She's going to be on, another business owner. So we started the month out with a musician. We had to start out, started out right. RDU Live for the month of March, we had to start it out right with a musician, a unique musician.
Hey,
and
I appreciate it.
And so we started out with a musician, and toward the end of the show, we found out that he was also a teacher. He's also a teacher. So we filling the bill up. The RDU Live show is filling the bill. We got musicians and teachers and business owners and artists. Hey. So, we made it happen today. So be on the lookout for everything that we got coming up. Got a couple podcasts that'll be coming out here really, really soon. We're going to be continuing our food conversation. You know how we do that. We've been going around just kind of making sure the food is on par in the RDU Live Triangle. Got a couple more segments that we're going to be opening up. When I come on next week, you're going to hear about that. I'll preview it right now. All I'll tell you is that I am, this is controversial. I'm sick of the pickleball players taking up all the courts in Durham. We're going to be talking about that next week. The pickleball players are, they're taking up too much time on all the courts in Durham. And we got to have a conversation about that. But that's for a later date. That's for that's for.
Don't say I don't even know what pickleball is.
See, that's my point. It's taking over. You ever seen the plants like on the highway kudzu? It's like it's an invasive plant, and it starts with one plant and then it just grows everywhere. That's what I feel about pickleball. I know I'm making somebody mad, but that's okay. Look, this is the RDU Live show. We're here every Tuesday, whether it's me or whether it's Camus Leonardo, Dame, here with the Tapped In series. We're here every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. right here on Oak 93.5 WRLY. I'm your host, Cameron McCarty, and like I like to say, let's go live.
From across the vast and open sea was a choice so mission to which and me. From across the ocean